Israel is not committing a genocide. At least that was the feedback I got when speaking to someone on a social media platform today, which is not my personal belief, but it made me think deeper. And around this topic, I have to respond carefully, but let's dig in. This is Daily Debunks, November 1st. This is one of the most sensitive and horrifying topics of our time, not just for Palestinians, but for Israel, the Israeli people who were trying to stand up to Netanyahu before October 7th, 2023 even began. One of the most complete trackers that you can find out there for death tolls on both the Israeli and Palestinian sides is from Al Jazeera. You should check it out. Here's some of the stats that they report on the website, and they do great summaries for Gaza and Israel. Back to the topics. I was recently reprimanded by someone on LinkedIn for saying that the Israeli military is committing genocide in Gaza. So I wanted to clarify what I meant and why this distinction matters for everyone deeply, because I understand and acknowledge genocide's not just happening in Gaza, it's happening in Africa and in several other places in the world. First, criticizing a government or a military is not an attack on a people. In fact, the Israel Times several times over the last several years reported that roughly 70% of Israelis disagree with Prime Minister Netanyahu's war tactics, which have been controversial for years. That's an important reminder that the Israeli public itself holds a spectrum of beliefs and moral convictions. Debunking my angry friend on LinkedIn's claim, genocide is actually a legal term. Now, you're not going to learn anything as a lot of people just casually view these reels unless you pause your screen and read the legal term for genocide and how there's multiple check marks for human rights violations that are checked off by globally known human rights organizations, and you can read them right here. Here's the last two considerations for your review. You can tap on your screen to pause and read. The International Court of Justice is engaged in this issue, and not for nothing, Netanyahu is considered a war criminal, and he'd get arrested on the spot in at least over 100 countries. Here's the primary resources when pulling all this content together for you, but we're ultimately calling attention to allegations that's not malice or conspiracy. It's the recognition of a global, legal, and humanitarian crisis that's based on credible international bodies, and it should be taken seriously. The word itself carries serious legal and moral weight. Reasonable people can disagree about whether the evidence satisfies the strict legal test of intent. The correct response is to engage with evidence and law. Let's be a little bit more civil with each other, not to equate criticism of a government or military with the hatred of a whole people or religion. I've covered on our decentralized news channel on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, Blue Sky, all of them, Reddit including, that talks about the viewpoints and the stories from Israel and Jewish people themselves. You could check it out. Simply search for the Pulse DNA symbol. We also have a purple cat robot holding a newspaper.